Thank you all so much for joining us. I'm Robbie Walsh, the Executive Director of Bike to the Beach. And in the chat function, you'll see Ben Daly, our Director of Operations. As we move through the presentation here, all the viewers will be on mute just to mitigate some background noise. If you do have questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to type those in, and Ben will do his best to answer them in the chat function, as well as provide some additional resources. If there is kind of an area of question or moving too fast or too slow, you can also let me know if it's appropriate to slow down or to dive a little bit deeper into something. But as I said, thank you so much for joining us. The goal of this presentation is to take you through some of our safety and ride information for Ride Day, make sure that everybody's on the same page and confident going into the event, and that everybody's where they need to be and doing what they need to do to make sure that we have a safe and successful event. I want to start off knowing that this is the first time a number of you are interacting with Bike to the Beach, to take the opportunity to let you know a little bit about who we are as an organization. Our mission is to support the autism and disabilities community, and do that by building efficient networks of support through collaborative partnerships that fund local initiatives, shape national and state legislation, and develop inclusive communities. We've always tried to do that through a lens of inspiring, connecting, funding, and shifting. So just like all of you are taking on that challenge, on Friday, so inspiring, our community and letting them inspire others to take on bigger and new challenges, to connect them, whether it's companies, nonprofits, or our community, in these kind of critical fundraising initiatives that then give back to the community and shift the perspective on autism and disabilities to really focus on the potential of every individual. And in everything we do, we try to keep it challenging, impactful, and fun. We think if we do those things, it's a really special event. So we hope that for part of the ride on Friday, you guys are challenged, that you definitely go out there and have a ton of fun. And if we do those, we're sure that the event will be meaningful and impactful. Give you a sense of who we are. As I mentioned, I'm Robbie Walsh. I'm the Executive Director. I'll be out there Ride Day at all the different locations. Ben Daly, our Director of Operations, similarly will be throughout the event, primarily handling the Centerville 100-mile and 70-mile start, but also changing tires being some of that rider response needs. And Carl Sylvester, who is our Director of Logistics, who's kind of tackled the bear of permitting everything this year. And also on Ride Day will be at most of the start lines, checking people in, making sure that's going smoothly, and that everybody's clear as they start the day. So we're kind of the principals, points of contact throughout the event. Feel free to reach out to us before or after this presentation and Ride Day if you have any questions. Start also the way that we started all of these this year. It's a unique and challenging year, and as we kind of answer the question of should we do the event, and what does that mean? First thing we had to do was ensure safety, and we really feel like we can put on a really safe and top-notch event, both because of the size of our event, which lets us use some great mitigation strategies, and also the nature of our event being an outdoor socially distanced bike ride. Then we said, is there a need for it? And overwhelmingly, our partners throughout the country and the DC area have said that they had funding cut out from underneath them as they've tried to adapt and evolve some of their programming to meet the needs of the community. And so we said if we be part of that solution, we really wanted to do everything we could to host the event. And then as we did that, we wanted to look and see if our community was interested in the event. And overwhelmingly, the response we've gotten is that our community loves to rise to a challenge and they love to support others. And so this year, although it definitely is challenging, they're ready to rise to it. And, our community needs more support than ever, and they're there to answer that call. To move on, just also want to touch off the bat on some of the kind of larger items that we broached as we approach the event in order to ensure that safety. And these are things that aren't necessarily location specific, but we ask you to be really mindful of throughout the event because they will be present everywhere. The first is masks. Riders will be required to wear masks at the starting, finish line, any bus transfer. The mindset we want for the day is anytime that you're off your bike, your mask should be on. So if you're at a rep, you're hopping off for whatever reason, make sure that mask's on. We are providing every rider with their own hand sanitizer, and we will have replacements at rest stops and other locations. The more that we can steer clear of larger communal items, the better. And so we really encourage you to keep that hand sanitizer on. Anytime you hop off your bike, get a quick sanitize of your hands. as you grab food, after you use any shared resource, make sure you're using your personal hand sanitizer as you go. We can refill you if we have to or give you a fresh one. We're also really cognizant of trying to limit interaction time. Every position, whether you're checking in to start the day, at rest stops, at the finish line, is about limiting the time of those interactions where you may, even if you are socially distanced at 6 feet, need to be in proximity to others. Making sure that at rest stops you're getting through, selecting food, getting water quickly so you can move to spaces that are much more open. We've been very cognizant of that as we've crafted the event. We ask that you be cognizant of that throughout the event. Of course, social distancing is critical in everything we're doing these days. Most of our locations have been moved to even broader areas. Our finish line, we made some adjustments to enable for more social distancing. So please take advantage of that. If you do have a group that you're riding with, after you get a snack or a water, move to some of those more spacious areas. We are screening every participant that's on site. We'll go through, there'll be a pre-event COVID screen questionnaire that we need you to fill out on Thursday, and show that you've filled out in order to attend the event. But we're also going to be doing temperature checks as you arise, things of that. And then we really ask that you're consistent in asking consent, whether it's on a bike ride, riding near people, passing people. If you are passing, make sure you're passing to a very strong distance. Anytime that you are even 6 feet away, making sure that people are comfortable with that distance, as some people may prefer even further distance when you're in line, trying to be extra courteous along those guidelines. As I mentioned, we will be sending out a COVID pre-screen. We'll email it out, on Thursday, and you'll need to, fill that out in order to be able to enter any event location or to enter a starting line. Covers all those things from symptoms, traveling habits, some awareness items as well to make sure that you've read those as you approach the event. The support that we have out there will be similar to other years, but will be a bit different. The rest stops will still be there. We'll dive into those. We'll have ride marshals. We'll have chase cars. Spokes, etc. will be out there as an incredible partner once again this year. But you do need to have that bike checked in advance. If you haven't had it checked yet, make sure you have new tires on it. Tubes in there fully pumped up. We are going to be more spread out over a wider geography, and there are limited resources in the entire biking community this year as factories and manufacturing has slowed. This year, we're only going to be able to change minor issues on the road. That's flat tires, miniature adjustments. Anything mid-complexity, we may be able to help with if it takes a few minutes, brakes, wheels. Anything that's major, we definitely won't be able to help out. And for all incidences, you're probably going to expect a little bit longer wait time this year as we both respond to it. And then also, once we're on site, making sure that you're laying your bike down, stepping away from your bike as the mechanic comes over. If you can, while you're waiting for the mechanic to get there, wipe down and sanitize your handlebars, other aspects of your bike. All those things are going to take a little bit more time throughout the day, and thus those signs might be a little bit slower. We, of course, have even more robust EMS and medical services, first aids available at every rest stop along the route. We do have our own event medical staff that's going to be guiding our temperature scanning units, but also there to deal with any kind of questions, concerns you have, both health-wise, injury-wise, as you move throughout the day. Anything that is an emergency, always dial 911 first and then notify us as the event. 911 in every jurisdiction to where that we're coming through. They have the most robust response possible in the shortest amount of time. So if there is ever an emergency, ever a question, make sure you're dialing 911 first. For our police support throughout the event, we will not be having police escorts leaving DC or Baltimore as we do in typical years. This is because of the rolling nature of the start and the scheduled start. The escort doesn't work over kind of a 2.5 hour period, the same way it does when we're all leaving at one time. We do, of course, still have police at intersection support and as awareness vehicles, particularly as you reach the beach region. That last little bit on Route 24, those are familiar. There is a little bit of road construction there on Route 1 with some beach traffic. We will have vehicles posted at some of those locations to raise awareness, let the other cars on the road know that we're around. As I mentioned, it's incredibly important that you go get your bike checked out before the event. All that support's in place if you need it, but the best ride is one that doesn't need that support. And so critical step that you can take is making sure that you're reaching out to spokes, etc. before the event. Bring your bike by. They're happy to have someone give it a quick look over. They'll let you know if there's any adjustments that they recommend, and they'll do their best to accommodate getting that done before the event. We're really tight time frame here, So don't waste time doing any of that, and make sure that, if you are going, that, you're being reasonable and supportive for them as they try to help you. But particularly those tires, making sure that they're fully pumped up and that you're riding on new tires and not overly worn tires is critical. The number one thing that slows down days is flat tires. We'll dive a little bit now into the schedule of the event, also some of the major locations as we move through it. The schedule of the day, start line, in DC is going to start at 4 a.m. and up in Baltimore at 4:30. That ride's going to begin sometime around 5 a.m. for everybody. So sometime if you have that start from 4 to 4:30, 4:30 to 5, 5 to 5:30, or 5:30 to 6. The Bay Bridge transfer, we'll start getting people over sometime between 5:30 and 6 as we start to fill up those first trucks. And the Bay to the Beach 100 will start between 6:30 and 8:30, with those 70 milers starting a little bit later and the 100 miles starting on the earlier side. The Denton start is at 9, between 9 to 10, depending on your scheduled. The finish line is going to open at 11. So 11 a.m. for those of you that are kind of looking to beat the heat or ride a little bit quicker. Even if you're doing that 70 mile, be aware that if you do get in before 11, we will have volunteers there. We will have some resources for you there, but may not have the full finish line experience ready to go. The 25-mile starts beginning between 12 and 12:30, and then we're looking to close up the event, have the route cleared, bike racks removed by 5 p.m., with those buses leaving shortly after. Give you a sense of the route. I know that's a big question a lot of people have. We'll dive into some of those details, and we'll go through some of those specifics as we go. You can see we have a 30-mile leg from DC to Annapolis. There's also a 30-mile leg from Baltimore to Annapolis. And this year, for the first time, we're offering a 30-mile loop at the start of our Eastern Shore route, so that if you do prefer to start on the Eastern Shore, you don't feel like dealing with the Bay Bridge transfer, you'd like to get a little bit later start in the morning, that Eastern Shore option does give you a full 100 as well as a 70-mile option. For route guidance, a number of these questions, the best route guidance you can do is the Strava, is electronic GPS route guidance. So make sure that you familiarize yourself with that beforehand. It's a great way to know exactly where you are, exactly where the next turn is, and exactly where the route is. Of course, we do also have the route marked. Those signs you see there in the middle are giant 2x2 2-foot by 2-foot turn signs. At every turn along the route, you're going to see those located. And also on the roadway at many of the turns, you'll see route arrows along the roadway. Again, helping giving you another visual cue, and also kind of showing you exactly where that turn is. At the start lines, we will have full cue sheets for everybody. Start to finish the entire route. We are not doing point-to-point cue sheets this year. Other years we've done just from one rest stop to the next, trying to limit, again, the amount of things that needed to be handed out and received throughout the day. So it'll be one total cue sheet throughout the day if you do prefer the written instructions. But of course, we do have the route marked with visual signs, and we do have the Strava. We always recommend that you use at least 2 out of those 3 throughout the event. If you do that, you're going to be really comfortable and confident with the route. We're going to share this a little bit later, but we do have that Bike to the Beach route page if you want to go in and explore a little bit more, familiarize yourself a little bit more before the event. That Bike to the Beach / Washington, D.C. route. It has all the different segments, all the different details, and it has the direct downloads of the Strava. So if you do go to it on your cell phone, of course, it makes it a little bit easier for you just to click that button. It'll take you into the Strava app to that route. As we share this a little bit later, here are additional steps for you to kind of duplicate that route and make sure that's also loaded on your phone, so you're not as data sensitive on ride day. You can download the route ahead of time and be working off of the GPS. With the route kind of mapped out, the first place we'll see you all on ride day, now that we've completed packet pickup and had those items out, is at the starting line. At the starting line, we're going to have safety precautions similar to what you'd see at a doctor's office and scheduled, similar to a golf course. Face mask going to be required when you arrive. After you pass through our temperature scan and health screening, we'll have additional face masks there for you if you'd like one. We'll have individual hand sanitizers for everybody that arrives, and we'll be handing out those cue sheets. The start line is a scheduled and rolling start. So by now you all should have received the window of time that you are expected to arrive. As you arrive at the start, we'll give you that quick temperature scan. We'll screen you for health. You'll get a blue bracelet that will give you access to different sites throughout the day. And then you'll be able to grab, as I said, some extra hand sanitizer, things like that, extra food, go to the restroom, and then depart as quickly as possible along the route once you have your group together, not waiting for a group start as we typically do in other years. That's to help us mitigate crowd size, again, and mitigate interaction time. Those are two critical pieces of being able to put on this event. So after you get that health check, we do ask that you get your group together, whoever you're cycling with, and head out along that route. As mentioned, at that start line, you will receive a few items from us. After your health scan, you will receive a blue band. That blue band is going to give you access to restricted areas. There are particular areas of the finish line, rest stops, transfers, and locations throughout the route that we are going to require everybody on site to have that blue band confirming that they have gone through our health screening process and that they've had their temperature checked. So you will receive that at the start. You should have already received in your packet a green or orange wristband. We ask that you wear that on ride day as well. That will be your rider color group. Throughout the event, we'll have different resources for different color groups at different locations. Certain locations will be broken up into orange and green supplies. After you get those supplies at locations, you can find your own socially distanced area. If you would like to socially distance people from the other color group, you're welcome to do that. But the resource tables will be primarily used only for that color group. And that way, again, we're influencing people to not gather or crowd around certain things. As I mentioned, we will have cue sheets if you'd like one of those. We will have masks, those KN95s, which are high medical quality. And we will also be providing additional ones of those as you board the buses, requiring that everybody has a fresh one of those as they get on with the windows down on the school buses. And we do ask that everybody at the start line grab one of those individual hand sanitizers to use throughout the day. As you get to that start line, the start line's at Union Market in Washington, D.C. That's at 1309 5th Street Northeast. We'll check you in. We'll do that health temperature scan. It's in Dock 5, directly, if you are familiar with the area, it's a giant food hall and kind of community space. We will have bathrooms on site, so you will be able to use a bathroom after you arrive. There is parking as well. If you do have a bag that you'd like to check like you do to the airport, we're happy to take a bag to the finish line for you, and we will have limited bike pumps there, to do a final tire check. But again, we really ask that you do that well before the event. And again, we will not have mechanics at the start to mitigate gathering, to mitigate that interaction time. So you need to have that bike prepared to go when you arrive. Please stop by a Spokes Etc. location before the event and make sure that it's ready to go ride morning, because at the start, we will not have additional mechanics there. We will have them out along the route. To give you a sense of what the layout there will look like at the starting line, down here in this bottom left-hand corner, you can see that giant parking lot. That'll be open and available for you. The entrance, we'll have socially distanced markers on the ground there for you to line up. We will have tables with those temperature screenings. That red line is going to be kind of the cross line that after you're through that temperature and health screening, you'll get that blue band, and you're going to be able to grab the masks, hand sanitizers, cue sheets, and blue bands that you need to have access to those areas later in the day. We do have that bag check there, so you will be able to drop off that bag to go to the finish line. We'll have those food and water tables. All the water this year is in single-serve canisters. So there are no communal servings throughout the event. That goes for both food and water. They're all individually packaged items. We do ask that as you use those individual serve water bottles and pour them into your water bottle that you're using throughout the day, that you do your best to recycle them and dispose of them correctly. At the other end of the parking lot there, you'll see a Dock 5. That's where we have our exit and our arch. Please do not try to enter through the exit end. That'll be a departure only. In order to be in that area between the arch and the temperature screening, you will need to have one of those blue bands showing that you have gone through our health screening access. If you enter through the exit, you'll be removed from the event. Baltimore starting line will have similar routines. It's at Francis Scott Key Elementary School. We do have a limited group starting up in Baltimore this year. A number of our Maryland riders have opted to do the Eastern Shore 100. So we're really only looking about 25, 30 people starting in that area as a whole. We'll do a quick temperature scan as people arrive, help you with that route guidance, and we will have some small groups leaving there together as they go the route. But similarly, we will have bike pumps, and a bag drop option to take things to the finish line for you. Again, at Baltimore start line, we will not have mechanics as we try to limit that interaction time and backup, but they will be out along the route. They do have separate routes, DC going from DC through Crofton to Annapolis, and Baltimore coming down through Glen Burnie to Annapolis. The first rest stop on our DC event is in Crofton at Rita's Italian Ice. And our first rest stop on the Maryland side is in Sawmill Creek Park in Glen Burnie. We will come into the transfer point. This is another area of change for this year. This year it is in Marine Corps Stadium. It gave us a much bigger parking lot and access area to spread out as we go. We do expect to have longer loading times this year because of the way that we're stretching out the starting time, and some of those resources along the road. So be prepared as you arrive. Be patient, and we will have some area for you to kind of hang out as you wait. We will wait to load the buses until everybody that is loading that bus is ready to ensure that we don't have people sitting on a bus waiting as they go. As you arrive, we'll direct you to the proper truck. We'll take your bike from you. We'll load it, put a moving blanket on it or other protective materials. As I said, you'll then hang out. Once we have enough people to load up that school bus, we'll make sure that all the windows are down. Individuals will show themselves sanitizing their hands. They'll put on that KN95 mask, and they'll hop on that bus to the open air, open circulation as that bus drives over the Bay Bridge. The trip over the Bay Bridge is roughly 35 minutes, and unloading typically takes 10 to 15 minutes on the far side. As I mentioned, we have a much bigger loading site this year. It'll enable people to spread out a little bit more. If you are getting your own transportation over the Bay Bridge, somebody's driving you over, we're happy to take your bike anyway, even if you're hopping in a friend's car, or perhaps, a loved one giving you a ride over, or if you have them giving you a ride over and your bike over, that's even better if you prefer to utilize that. We will have an area in that parking lot for individuals that are getting their own ride over to load up and head out. As I mentioned on the bus, we're only putting one person per seat. The buses will not be more than half full. All windows will be fully open. Everybody will be wearing masks at all times on the bus. They'll be dropping us off on the far side of the Bay Bridge, which will also be our 170-mile starting line at Queen Anne's County High School in Centerville, Maryland. Again, this is a change of site from last year. Last year we started at Chesapeake College. This year we are at Queen Anne's County High School. Again, it gave us a nice big location to do it with a great 30-mile loop to start the event as we go. We'll check people in, same health screening process, temperature checks. We will be doing a bag drop so that we will take back to the finish line for you. Bikes will be unloaded there, so if you do want to meet up with somebody that did the DC or Baltimore start, it's also an opportunity to join up with them at that location. To give you a sense of the footprint there, this first entrance to the south is going to be for truck entrance only. That way we can have our get in and out as they're unloading and loading bikes as we go. The Centerville start and rest stop there, in that red and tan area, and cars and bikers can enter through that northern entrance there, pull the cars around to the back, and there's a large parking area there as we go. We'll have similar temperature and food sanitizer and water. So if you hop off that bus, please walk around and enter through the entrance side of our check-in area. If you are arriving in your car, parking and dropped off, again, please go through the entrance side of that check-in and rest stop, making sure that we're exiting to the south there as we approach Ruthburg Road. For the 100-mile route, you'll be exiting and turning right. There's a great 30-mile loop that way. For the 70-mile and for continuing on in the 100, you'll be finishing and turning left. The 50-mile start line is going to be in Denton, Maryland at the food line. Another nice large parking lot for us there. Similar setup. We will have a bag drop, all the things that you need there to start the ride at 840 5th Street. Next location for us is Deltec Community College, or East parking lot. This is a change from other years. The rest stop will not be located at Kiwani's Chicken. And the 25-mile start line will not be at Kiwanis Chicken. They will be at Deltec. It gives us a huge parking lot there, both to check people in and for the rest stop to ensure social distancing. As we mentioned at the rest stops, we will have color-coded groupings using those green and orange wristbands. Please use the resources from the tables that have the appropriate color on them. We do ask that as you get off your bike that you hand sanitize. We want to remind you as you get back on your bike to hand sanitize before you do that. Doing that as frequently as you can throughout the day. They'll also have some extra mask safety items, first aid as well with volunteers. And for every rest stop this year, we also have a grab and go option. We will put a cooler with food, water, and a few snacks right by the roadway. So if you do not want to get off your bike in a rest stop area, you can come by, grab it out of the container and table by the road, and then bike up another mile, 2 miles, wherever you feel comfortable, pull over to a nice open area and enjoy a break along the route anywhere of your choosing. But that way, if you do prefer not to stop at the rest stop where people are, you have that option throughout the event. Rest stop locations, on that far side, we will have a water station, which will be a non-manned coolers and, filled with water and ice. Halfway through that first 30 miles at Clabber Hill Furniture and Gift Store. We then will have some full rest stops in Denton, Bridgeville, and Georgetown. After we get by Georgetown, we have 25 miles left. We added a water station there at Wilson's General Store. Other years, it's been a full rest stop. This year, with moving the third rest stop a little bit further, the distance between there and Lou's got under 15 miles, appropriate distance. And also this year, we're trying to really make sure that the locations that we are providing have really robust health, safety, and spacing opportunities. And by kind of making some water stations and some full rest stops, it enabled us to better do that. The setup, as I mentioned, there'll be grab and go areas. If you want to grab, some food and water as you pass by, keep moving and find your own place to stop. Really encourage that. The food and water areas will be matching and identical with kind of different color items for each group to use. We will have a first aid and sunscreen station. That'll be under a tent with our volunteers. If you do need to use any of those items, they'll help sanitize them both as they give them to you and then sanitize them as they're received back in, as they are more communal uses. We do have bathrooms and porta potties at locations. Make sure that you're sanitizing both before and after. And as I mentioned, we will have a lot of recycle this year, a lot of trash, given that they're all single-use containers. So please do your best to dispose of those correctly. Nutrition tips throughout the event: make sure you're eating consistently, small amounts, not all at once, and that you're mixing it up between fruit, salty snacks, Clif Bars, gels, and chews, and that you are drinking consistently throughout. We will provide Motive Pure. All participate with the Motive Pure as they start the event. It's a great electrolyte supplement in your water. Tastes great, is great for you. And then as we get further in the route, we will also have some Motive Pure options to give you a little bit of a boost. Again, we are not doing communal food options this year, so items like Grotto's Pizza we will not be having out along the route. We did move the rest stop from Kiwanis, so we will not be having Kiwanis Chicken along the route. If you would like to stop somewhere and grab some food along the way at a restaurant or other location, we ask that you do it quickly and get back along the route. But given the limitations and guidelines given to us by the authorities, we are not allowed to do communal options. We will have Chick-fil-A sandwiches for everybody at the finish, along with chips, as you finish up. And at every rest stop, we will have, Clif Bars, fruit, salty snacks, Cheez-Its, Goldfish, things of that nature. Do want to note that both at rest stops and at the start and the finish, we will have limited areas for friends and supporters. That means at rest stops, they will not be able to kind of come and go through all the areas. At the finish line, we will have a friends and supporter area, and we will have a rider only area. Similarly, at the start, after you're dropped off, once you get through the health screening, it is a rider only area on the other side of the health screening. If people would like to kind of be more engaged throughout the day, have access to more areas, please have them sign up as a volunteer. We can always use more volunteers throughout the event. The finish line is at Lions Club in Dewey Beach. We're going to have you check in. You're going to get that bag that you dropped off. We're going to get you a pre-packed rider awards with the correct t-shirt size. We ask that you do not exchange t-shirt sizes at the finish line. If you'd like to adjust that, we can do that with you by mailing it to you after ride day. But again, we're trying to limit the amount of exchanges, shared surfaces, shared touches throughout. Get those sunglasses, other items that you've earned through your fundraising. We'll get you, as I mentioned, that Chick-fil-A. We do have a rider cool down area. And then we suggest that you either go to the McKinley Street Beach, where we will have some Bike to the Beach flags out there, a communal area for everybody to kind of socially distance and enjoy the beach together. Or we do recommend that you get a reservation at one of the local restaurants or bars if that's how you'd like to celebrate your day and share your accomplishment. But realizing that while bars and restaurants are open in the area and there is table seating, it may be limited. So we do recommend getting some reservations ahead of time. Again, to give you a sense of just the layout, that green area is going to be where we allow supporters, family, and friends. The red entrance this year, we will not allow cars in that portion of the parking lot. That is a bike-only entrance. As individuals, family, and friends, and supporters cross that, there will be a temperature and health screening for family, friends, and supporters. The yellow line there is our finish line arch. That is where you kind of cap off your accomplishment. And on the other side of that arch is another rider-only area. We're going to get you your bag check, rider rewards food packet. We'll have a large cool down area for you need it. We're going to have rider bike storage with bike racks in the back, which you will have kind of come and go access to. That's not in the controlled rider-only area. And we will have an area of parking in there for the trucks and event vehicles only, but there will be no other cars or vehicles on site. So again, if you do have family, friends, and supporters coming to the finish line, let them be aware that there will be a temperature health screening. Let them know that we will have kind of an area available for them, but there is going to be a large section of the finish line that will be rider only. That's why, again, we are encouraging people to kind of have that finish line plan of their own so that as you check, it's quick to move through the finish line, cool down, catch your breath. We'll get you some water. We'll get you some quick food. But think about how you're going to enjoy that beach day, whether it's bringing an extra beach towel, whether it's bringing an extra speaker so you can listen to some music, making that reservation, or having somebody, make a reservation as they know that you get to that last rest stop so that you can really kind of make sure that you're enjoying and celebrating your accomplishment. But we are going to have to limit the time and duration and amount of people on site at the finish line in order to ensure safety of everybody that's there and to get approval of the event. As I mentioned, just to wrap up some of those, it's going to be a quick finish line celebration of the moment. And then we're going to ask you to transition. It's going to be socially distanced. There are going to be limitations on those families and friends. And then the bus back, has already closed out. It closed out last week. So if you have not booked and confirmed your bus ride or other transportation, you need to find family, friends, or another rider to coordinate that with. Few things that you can do to kind of help us out. It's always great to have more volunteers. As we mentioned, we have an ambitious plan and we're really kind of confident in the way that we can execute, but more volunteers always makes it better. Even if they're only helping at one location, even if they're being a comfort car throughout the day that is driving the route with extra water and food, keeping an eye on our riders, being aware of who needs support can be a great help. Have them sign up online, have them send us an email. The biggest thing you can do right now is be responsive. We're sending out a lot of emails. We are going to send out that pre-event COVID screen email. You need to make sure that you fill that out. You need to make sure that you're being informed. There are going to be a lot of adjustments as we go through it. And also to make sure that, that you are the only one that can keep this event safe. As we look at keeping the event safe, we are also fully aware that there are unique situations for every individual. And if for whatever reason you don't feel safe participating, we're happy to either defer you to next year's event, to ride with us then, or to have you opt into the virtual event. We are working with the DC government, aware that they have put some quarantine restrictions on people that, visit Delaware. We are, working with them, trying to get a waiver for kind of necessary travel waiver as opposed to optional, in which case it would be a self-monitoring. We can't guarantee that we're going to get that approval. And we do ask that, if you are an individual living in that DC area or living in DC or having to travel in DC, that you do your best to respect the guidelines and laws and regulations of any area that you live in or that you're going into. And we are going to do our best, at the starting line, working with individuals that are from out of state, out of areas to make sure that they're not entering without a negative test result or that 14-day check if they are coming from an excluded area. So please do your best to stay abreast of some of those. Know that we are working on our end to try to make that as easy as possible for you, to see if we can get it to a self-monitoring situation instead of a quarantine situation, as we approach the event and work with all the jurisdictions that are around us. Fundraising wise, we do know this is a difficult year. I can't tell you how impressed, amazed, and inspired we've been. Our average rider this year is raising more money this year than they raised last year. The people that are going out there and sending those emails are, inspirationally seeing donations come in. And it's been really moving and powerful for us to see that happen each day. At the same time, we know that, it is difficult. If you are running into fundraising issues, reach out to us, let us know. We're happy to help. We have great, ideas that we've seen work for other people in the past. And we also have ways that we can waive the fundraising minimum through your advocacy points. If you help find some volunteers, there are other ways you can contribute to the organization or raising awareness, that you can take advantage of and have that fundraising minimum waived. So those of you that are fundraising, we've been really blown away. Keep up the good work. Those of you that, have been hesitant, know that those that have reached out have seen some really positive feedback on it. And those that feel like they can't, know that we're here to support you. We value you as a member of our community, even outside of your fundraising. Just let us know. We're happy to work with you to get that fundraising minimum waived. Moving forward, we are operating under the assumption of the current trajectory of the virus. There are chances that government regulations are changing daily, as we've seen even in the DC region over the last couple of days. And we are working with all jurisdictions to hold the event. At this point, we are really confident that we're able to hold the event, having talked to our DC, permitting people, today, our Maryland permitting authorities today, and our Delaware permitting authorities as recent as yesterday. But there are changes as we go throughout this. And we do ask that you do your best to live into all of the guidelines and regulations as you can, to ensure that we're living into the guidelines and regulations ourselves. That's going to mean at the start line, as I mentioned, checking in and departing quickly. At the finish line, celebrating your moment, but having a plan for what you're going to do after that moment, whether it's the beach or another socially distanced area that you can get to, realizing that the moon bounce band communal moment that we treasure and we really value every year can't be as much in the physical sense this year. It needs to be more in the shared experience of a joint accomplishment rather than in a shared moment with a picture. That's all we had on the presentation here today. Hopefully you had an opportunity to hop onto some of our other presentations around health and safety as well. We're really confident in the plans that we have and the mitigation strategies that we're able to take advantage of. We do ask that you do your best to keep the event safe. That's sanitizing, that's being responsible over the next couple of days, that's wearing your mask as often as you can, and taking care of yourself and taking care of others. We're really committed to the event. We believe it's a safe event, and equally, we believe that there is a need, and the fundraising you all have done will enable us to do some really remarkable stuff this year. So thank you for stepping up and joining us and trusting the event. Thank you so much for your fundraising. It's going to be a year like none other, but we're really proud of it, and the impact that we can have this year can be uniquely powerful as well. If you do have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to myself or Ben, both on the chat function, but also don't hesitate to give us an email or a call over the next couple of days as we start to get everything out on the route and everything put into place logistically to ensure that you have a great event. Thank you all so much for being a part of it. We're proud of the growth we've had over the last couple of years, and while this is a challenging year for us all, we're excited about what it can mean for our community as it shows our resiliency, and as we all rise to a challenge and look to grow to the future and continue to make an impact in the future.